Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have your Elimination Chamber results. AEW starts building towards the Revolution pay-per-view. Breaking news. Cesaro is out at WWE. He is a free agent. And New Japan, the New Japan Cup, we have a new U.S. champion and the killer match between Okada and Naito. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Davey, a.k.a. my ambition as a Java. And out there, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Oh, shit, that's great. Vice does it again. I fucking love that dude. And on that lovely note, allow me to bow our heads as we read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 245, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. And listen, share, subscribe, repeat the holy trinity of BFR. Bill and I were talking about what we're going to do about the pod, and he said a subject that I totally forgot about. And I was like, oh, yeah, that shit did happen. I'll let you guess which subject I forgot about in the week of wrestling, but we'll touch on that and a whole bunch more this week. Minus 2 beer, unfortunately.
Yeah, minus 2 beer. He has some work stuff to take care of. And once again, the weather situation has prevented Jason and I from being in the same place. It was 65 over the weekend. It was beautiful. I was sitting on the patio, enjoying some adult beverages. And then it started getting cold again. And then it's been raining and freezing raining and sleeting and snowing for the last 24 hours, I would say. So better safe than sorry, but we're going to do our best anyway. Some stuff to talk about. This Cesaro thing just happened. I mean, less than 30 minutes ago. So you're going to get our freshest takes on that. We know that Zach wanted to talk about it. He's clearly psyched about it. He put some stuff on Friends of BFR on Facebook, so go check that out. If you're not part of Friends of BFR and you are on Facebook, just find us on there and join the conversation. Without further ado, let's get to that. Three count. JCB, kick it off.
The subject I forgot about, not even a damn shame, but considering all the effort put into it and the fact that I forgot about it, I think it speaks for itself. We're going to start the 1 count over in Saudi Arabia. Saturday afternoon, I believe. Sounds right. 1 Elimination Chamber. Man, I don't even know where to start, really. I want to start with the men's Elimination Chamber because, to me, that's where the biggest controversy is. Obviously, you had Lashley, Brock, AJ, who is it, Austin Theory. Who am I missing on that?
Rollins.
Seth Rollins and somebody else. I can't even think who the 6th person is. Ultimately, it doesn't even matter. Lashley coming in was apparently hurt. He was hurt at the Royal Rumble match against Brock, jacked up his shoulder. So apparently he was hurt coming into the match. So the spot in the match that I have a big problem with is where Seth Rollins power bombs, buckle bombs, whatever you want to call it, Austin Theory into Lashley's pod, and Lashley sustains a quote-unquote concussion. Okay, there's so many things wrong with this, I don't even know where to fucking start. If Lashley is truly hurt, the shoulder is hurt, why even have him in the match? Why even have this spot? God forbid, it's not like, and this ain't a knock against Seth Rollins, but let's just call a spade a spade. Seth Rollins hadn't had the best luck with buckle bomb spots. I don't even know why you would even put this in the line of fire if you really don't have to. Okay. So Lashley gets pulled out of the match. I'm sitting there watching this shit like, okay, so Brock's getting ready to win. And Brock comes in and destroys everybody. I mean, it went to Lashley's spot, and I looked over at Brock's pod, and I'm waiting for like the reaction for Brock because now, he has to wait. Brock ain't waiting. He kicks the motherfucking pod door in like it's a fucking jail cell, kicks himself out the motherfucker, and then proceeds to lay waste on the competition. F5s anybody and everybody, threw Austin Theory off the top of the pod. I'm just like, man, I'm glad that dude landed on his feet, kind of, but neither here nor there. That was the spot of the night. Brock Lesnar goes on to win the WWE title to set up the title versus title scenario that has been rumored for quite some time. Okay, I get it. I'm not necessarily mad that Brock won because that's what I thought was going to happen. It's just the way this thing happened. As soon as Lashley went out, I just kind of shook my head. I was like, you know what? That's a wrap. There is no reason to even, and I don't even know why I watched this Joker from that point on, because I knew in my heart of hearts this Joker was over, but let's see how bad this thing is going to get. And it was about as bad as I thought it was going to get. Brock's firing everybody around, just no reason for anybody else to be in this match at that point. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway for the Elimination Chamber, is the destruction that Brock Lesnar laid. And for obvious reasons, his booking is so strong, it would be almost silly if he didn't destroy everybody in that ring, except for Lashley. That was the one hope that I had and others had to actually make this a match. Outside of that, I mean, poor AJ, and this is what I was saying about the AJ Styles match many, many moons ago. I love the match, but it was not going to be realistic. Daniel Bryan was the same way. It can only go so far until Brock decides, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to throw you into the fifth row. I'll let you take it from there. But like I said, for me, that was the biggest takeaway and probably the biggest disappointment of the Elimination Chamber.
Once again, all roads lead to Roman. They kept Brock. They kept Brock as strong as possible at the expense of everybody else on the roster. So much so that they, like you said, they gave Bobby Lashley what could have been somebody else's spot to try to get over. I mean, Austin Theory had the most shine on him besides Brock Lesnar with the basically bumping for Brock Lesnar for the last 5 minutes of the match.
He had a good start to his Elimination Chamber, but yeah, the biggest takeaway is him just getting thrown around like a little rag doll.
There's I already said one of my favorite catchphrases in this take, the all roads lead to Roman. The other thing I say a lot is predictable isn't always bad, but it's not always good either.
I'm just sitting like, I don't know about this one.
And this one sucked. There was a lot of different stuff, a lot of different ways they could have gone. They went with the chalkiest of all the chalk ways possible, which is Brock looking stronger than everybody. So it's Brock and Roman. And then what am I supposed to think about the next time that there's a number one contender match or something like that? It's just nobody else on the roster matters. And ultimately, that's why I only watched this. I watched this with the sound off. We had some company over. Aaron's family was in town. Steve and I were kind of keeping an eye on it, but not really watching it. And I'm watching it right now with the sound off. And from what I read and from what everybody said, I didn't miss anything. It's WWE
at its finest.
At its finest, and certainly the last 10, 15. I mean, since Rock and Austin left, I guess it's just been Cena and then Roman, and that's the only way. The only way that Vince knows how to book is that there's one guy and then there's everybody else. And maybe it's been that way since Hogan. I don't know.
I was going to say, dude, there was a time where WWE had stars on stars, and I mean, an abundance of riches and talent where it was almost embarrassing, where you didn't just have one guy that dominated the whole scene. Honestly, I think with Austin and Rock leaving at different points for different reasons, I think Vince kind of got away from having a multitude of stars, and he got back to having the one big star. Hogan was the one big star. Cena was the one big star. Now Roman is that one big star. I get that kind of theory to a certain degree, but now with what's happening, like you said, whatever happens coming out of WrestleMania, whoever wins, is there a credible number one contender for either guy? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Roman Reigns wins, because all roads lead to Roman. What next? I mean, we're going to run it back with Brock. You could do that if you want to, but then what? You've got it to the point now where they have both eliminated any real competition that's in the roster right now, sans Cody Rhodes.
Okay. Here's my thought. First one being Dwayne. Dwayne comes out at the end of WrestleMania or something, sets up the WrestleMania match a year from now
in Hollywood.
That's possible. They've done that again, or they've done that before.
Yeah.
The other thought would be they flip Roman's face while he has the belt, and somebody wins it through nefarious means. Now that would require WWE telling a story, which they haven't done in a long time. So I don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, I hear what you're saying. The only person that can beat heel Reigns is
face
Lesnar, and I don't see that happening at WrestleMania.
I don't want to see Roman turn face for a while, okay? And the person that could do that, I don't even know if it's physically on this roster. You would have to do some hoop jumping. Cody, obviously, once again, is the wild card in this, but I don't necessarily think a Cody Rhodes, unless he just comes in and just leans AEW hard and just goes that route. Outside of that, I mean, the prodigal son returns home is the storyline for Cody Rhodes. At least that's what I would think. From there, I don't really see Roman flipping back to face for quite some time. Somebody would have to come in and be seen as a credible threat from the heel side, more so than Roman, more so than Lesnar. I don't even know who the fuck that is. They would have to, present them as such and then move forward. I don't see anybody on the NXT roster or the main roster that would be that much of a threat where Roman now has to look over his shoulder and then, gets fucked over, Money in the Bank style, or whatever the case may be, and flips babyface that route.
Well, they could have done it. They could have done it with Walter, but they got him jobbing out the Solo Sikoa.
Stop! He lost that match. He lost that match.
He didn't. No, they didn't have a match.
Oh, okay. He dropped him. Okay, I did see that. I was like, damn, they had a match. I didn't see that shit. Okay, all right. Okay, sorry. The women's Elimination Chamber was also predictable, but it had a little bit of a happier ending from my perspective, at least, where they got back to where they should have gotten, which is it's going to be Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. I hope they actually try to tell a story with this one too over the next 6 weeks, and it's not just them going out there and talking about the 26 seconds for the next 6 weeks. But I have a feeling that's what they're going to do, because Vince books the poster and he's got the poster and his job is done. What do you think? The 26 seconds is a part of the story. I mean, whether we want to talk about it or not, I mean, that's how this whole thing got started. Do I wish it was Bianca in a different spot? Probably. Like I said, I'm on record. Becky and Ronda to me is the WrestleMania match. Charlotte and Bianca should be the other WrestleMania match. You would have storylines either way. A stronger storyline if you went the way I'm talking about with Becky and Ronda. Neither here nor there. I'm a little surprised with Alexa Bliss not winning. Now her WrestleMania, spot is kind of in the air because realistically, you got the 2 title matches, and then what? Are we going to do like a women's battle royal? That doesn't mean anything. See Naomi. So I mean, in that scenario, it was a little bit of a surprise for her coming back. They didn't put her over. Rhea Ripley is a little bit of I won't say disappointment. I guess her booking, better choice of words, is disappointing. Obviously has all the talent. Her matches with Charlotte were off the chain. And then, this recent main roster run has been less than stellar. Maybe a heel turn for Rhea might do some good. But like you said, at the end of the day, Bianca is probably the one that should have won it. It's just now, you have 5 other women that are basically going to be scrambling for a WrestleMania spot in some form or fashion in the next 6 weeks. And that shouldn't be it. That shouldn't be the case. There should be some sort of other plan going on, but I got the sneaky suspicion they're going to throw them all into like a battle royal and let them figure it out.
Who has the tag belts right now? I don't remember.
It is Zelina Vega and Carmella.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Not bad for somebody that doesn't watch.
Yeah, I mean, I could have figured it out if you would have given me a week or so.
You said a week.
I don't know. It's hard to get very jazzed about this product right now. And this is when it should be heating up, and it's just not. It is just, it's atrocious. It's fucking atrocious. I just watched Goldberg versus.
Go ahead.
I just watched Goldberg versus Roman Reigns for the first time, and during your opening salvo, when you were talking about the men's elimination chamber, for your whole entire rant there,
that was the match.
That was just. No, it wasn't even the match. That was just them looking at each other. It was just them looking at each other.
Oh shit! I'm glad it was quick and it ended the way it should have. Tap out, discussion over, move along.
McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. I haven't seen it. I'm assuming McIntyre won.
He did, but there was a spot in the match where McIntyre tried to give Moss the Alabama Slam, and Moss came down really rough. I'm not going to put fingers on.
I didn't see that.
Okay, that was the spot of that match. Like I said before, I like Madcap Moss as a wrestler. I just hate the gimmick. I'm glad that he didn't get hurt in this match, honestly, because like I said, that spot was a little rough, and McIntyre had to give him a few minutes. Corbin came over to make sure he was okay, but yeah, that was a little rough. I was a little worried about Madcap Moss on that point, but he shrugged it off and finished off the match. And like I said, obviously Drew won. You had to keep him strong, especially going to WrestleMania, because at some point, Drew's going to have a WrestleMania match. It's just figuring out who the opponent is, I guess, is the ultimate question. Probably Baron Corbin's dumbass.
Yeah, I mean, I like Drew McIntyre. I like Madcap Moss also. It's hard to get jazzed about it, though. Like I said, I mean, who gives a fuck about this match? Who gives a fuck about the story? The Usos go over the Viking Raiders. Anything happen there? No,
I was getting ready to say that wasn't even a match. Let's not even give that much credit. Viking Raiders came out to the ring. Usos jumped them, before they even got to the ring. So, I mean, realistically, there wasn't even a match. It was a pre-match beatdown of the Viking Raiders by the Usos. So, I mean, it just... I don't understand what we even doing with the tag team division. If there's any division that just needs to have one set of titles, it's the tag team division. Easily. Nobody really gets over. It's once again the WWE formula of a handful, even not even a handful of teams, 2 or 3. Usos, New Day, Alpha Academy now at this point because they're the tag champs. It's really those 3 teams, and everybody else kind of fights for the crumbs left off of the table. It's just to the point now where they just need one set of titles and just let whoever the champs are bounce from show to show.
And the Usos are just part of the Roman story anyway. So, I mean, that's another all roads lead to Roman thing.
Right. And that more so kind of why I was a little disappointed where there wasn't even a match. I mean, damn, you know, if the Usos are going to go over, that's fine. But, you know, just have the match. Even if they, you know, crushed the Viking Raiders, at least that would be something to talk about versus they didn't even have a match at all. The Viking Raiders flew over to Saudi to get squashed before the match. What the fuck is that?
If I had to ask you right now, what are you most excited about when you're talking about WrestleMania? What would your answer be?
The obvious answer would probably be Roman Brock, but the more like the intriguing question is who's Edge going to wrestle? His promo on Monday night threw out like 3 or 4 different names in like a little, you know, subtle jab kind of way. He said, you know, this match would be phenomenal, referring obviously to AJ Styles. That was the rumored match going into this before Cody decided to jump ship. He said, what was Cody dashing? So he, you know, made reference to Cody Rhodes. He said, you know, this match could live forever or something along those lines. So that was a Damian Priest drop. So, I mean, to me, Edge had a really good promo, number one. And number two, now with Cody probably coming over, Edge is going to have a WrestleMania match, no question about it. It's just who is he going to have this match against? And if it's Damian Priest, I would be okay with it. If it's AJ, I would be hyped for it. If it's Cody, I would be hyped for it. So to me, that's more of the question of who's Edge getting ready to wrestle. Roman Brock is a lock. Okay, I'm already down for it, motherfucker. Let's just get this shit on. From that point, who Edge wrestles is my next question.
I'm so excited for what we talked about last week. If we're going to get Owens Austin, although it does kind of seem like now they're going to put the tag belts on Owens and Rollins
you think
at WrestleMania. So? That's kind of what it looks like they're making them a tag team, which I don't like. I don't want to see. I guess I'm just excited. I'm excited to see how they book Roman Brock.
No, I'll say
nothing else.
No, I'll say this. I think the tag team thing is only a temporary part of this story. I think there being Seth and KO's partnership is the bigger story, the overriding story, and how it seems like KO is like a step behind or always getting the short end of the stick in some form or fashion. I don't think they're going to be a tag team per se. I can't see them. Well, they could be the Alpha Academy, I guess. I mean, it would be the.
Oh yeah.
It would be the one thing I wouldn't want to see is the two singles guys beating the more of an established tag team that just goes against my nature. But WWE could book that. They've done it before. They'll do it again. I don't necessarily think they're going to be a tag team long term. I definitely don't think they're going to be tag team champions, but either one could happen and it wouldn't be a surprise.
You know, I have Roku in my office here where I'm doing the podcast right now, and I got Peacock and Netflix and HBO Max and shit.
Peacock sucks.
When Aaron's watching something out there, I can come in here and watch what Roku does not have a New Japan Pro Wrestling app on it.
Not like.
Don't you think that's
they do have like New Japan programming, but when I think New Japan app, I see the New Japan World app on like with the Fire Stick when I want to watch it on the on my TV or whatever the case may be. I think that's
Fire Stick. Well, I even have one on my phone,
right?
But I'm trying to watch it. I'm trying to put something on here in the background, and when I put new space J, it comes up New Jersey News and Weather. I don't want to watch that.
You ain't got no piece of Jersey?
I do actually. I have some friends in West Orange.
Okay, see.
They live right across the street from Whoopi Goldberg. They live like where the Sopranos live. They're rich.
You said Tony Soprano. God damn, I missed the Sopranos.
Must be nice, huh? Do you want to just talk about Sopranos podcast?
I was about to say you getting ready. About to say we gonna be here for a minute. Aaron gonna be mad. The whole reason we did it early. We sidebarred in the Sopranos for an hour and a half.
Right. Let's get to that 2 count. All right. So the 2 count was AEW last night. Let me see here. Oh, I do want to say that the only person that had a perfect prediction last week was 2 Beer Zach Pullman, because I had Lashley winning the men's and you had Alexa Bliss
the women's.
So,
hey, not bad for a bunch of guys that don't watch WWE. Thanks for the chalk, Vince.
So let's get into AEW Dynamite last night, because there were 2 stellar talking segments.
The first one being,
yeah, it was kind of sports entertaining, but MJF comes out, cuts a promo, heartfelt promo. Dude was really crying. I don't know if they were real tears. I mean, they were real tears, but I mean, he can act, obviously.
Right.
He was really crying about the anti-Semitism that he experienced in high school, and how he was one of only 2 Jewish kids that were on the football team. He played middle linebacker, which makes sense to me. He looks kind of like he's built like a middle linebacker, you know?
Yep.
And he said that he talked about an incident where some kids threw quarters at him and told him to pick it up, Jew boy. There's some strange cheers in the audience when they yelled that, when he said that too. Like, all right, take it easy here, guys.
Say, damn, I get it, but let's have a little sympathy for 30 seconds, please. Jesus.
Yeah, I know he's a heel, but so was Hitler. So he says that on that day, his only saving grace was he was going to a wrestling show that night, and he was going to meet his hero, CM Punk. And that CM Punk blew the autograph line off, didn't sign any autographs. And MJF from that moment always hated him, and that he was going to become the greatest in spite of CM Punk, not because of CM Punk. He cuts this promo, CM Punk comes out, no music. CM Punk looks at him, says, off mic, he says, "Is this true? Is this true?" With tears in his eyes. That hurt little boy MJF nods and walks off, and CM Punk is kind of left there thinking, "Oh man, well, I feel shitty about this." Now you can say what you want about whether or not this is a true story, whether or not MJF is using it as a ruse to get inside CM Punk's head or something, but at least they're telling us a story. At least it adds another layer to this MJF Punk feud that has been going on for, over a month now, and has had some great segments, and has also had some weeks that you could almost consider them weeks off, which is fine. No big deal. I thought this segment was an A+. Zach called it on Friends of BFR. I think he called it God level shit. I don't know if I would go that far, but
no, you were about to say that's pretty much what he said. Watching this segment, I was like, at first it felt like, the usual sports entertainment kind of segment where I would waited for, the Pinnacle or somebody to come out from the back. And the more and more he talked is the more and more I'm like, man, I want to feel sympathy for him, but he's still a heel in the back of my mind. I'm like, he's still the bad guy, so you really can't feel sympathy for him. But as a man of color, there's parts of it that I can at least, have empathy for or relate to, whatever word you want to use for it. So for that part, it resonated for me. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what I took away from it was, if CM Punk would have just signed that autograph line, there would be no MJF that would at least hate him so much that wanted to see the CM Punk destruction. Maybe MJF becomes a wrestler and he becomes a babyface. Hell, we don't know. What we do know is that is the ultimate butterfly effect. Is CM Punk doesn't sign the autograph line, MJF goes home pissed off, MJF's like, fuck CM Punk, and now you have what you have in front of us right now. I don't care if it's a true story or not, to be perfectly honest. That motherfucker was good, and it had me invested to the point now where I'm like, okay, what happens next week? Are we going to continue this, sympathy for MJF? Or are we going to do what I think should normally happen, is that they have some sort of face-off and MJF just destroys Punk on the road to Revolution?
Yeah, I mean, I hope this is just a further way to get it would get MJF over even more as a heel if it turns out he's lying or exaggerating it, embellishing, and I hope that's what it is, because the real takeaway for me is that when the time comes, MJF is going to be a tremendous babyface, which I wasn't sure if he had, but he had.
This was a babyface promo, no question about it. I agree with that. I just don't know if he's going to be a good babyface. I can't see it.
Except for, the American History X guys in the mezzanine or whatever who were cheering the other stuff. It was a babyface promo. The other promo segment that I actually have a few more thoughts about was Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. And it seemed to me that this was such a clash of styles in promo that it really made Jericho look like a dinosaur. I mean, Jericho was doing the same old shit where it's like, you're jealous of Jericho, that's why you're so angry. And Eddie really kind of blew him off. And those heel promos, that heel promo style of Jericho going at Eddie like that, it's not as effective if the babyface no-sells it, which is essentially what Eddie did until Jericho brought up his dad and his uncle. What were your thoughts watching that segment?
Interesting take on Jericho. We can start there. I didn't really think of it until you just said it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was original by any stretch of the imagination. We can go back to WWE and have some sort of, probably, I think CM Punk and Jericho had a feud right around, when the Jericho was walking around in the business suit or whatever. I could easily see a feud spinning off from that Edge the same way. That said, I mean, I think it all worked out, even as unoriginal. And maybe that was a part of that, the unoriginality part of it. They did, mention WWE indirectly a couple of times. Eddie was like, you're talking sports entertainment. Sports entertainment's down the block. Came back later and mentioned Paul Levesque, aka Triple H. I want to see that guy that Triple H hated. So I mean, I think that might have had something to do with it. Maybe not a lot, but I mean, ultimately, I think they played the sports entertainment part because they really want Jericho to be the heel. And in front of a AEW crowd, I don't think there's anything more that you can do than to bring up the quote-unquote evil empire, a.k.a. the WWE, in front of an AEW crowd. And Jericho played off of that. I don't have a problem with that per se. Was it unoriginal? Sure. But did he work with that? Hell yeah. And then Eddie, like you said, no-sold it and was basically like, fuck it. I'm through with this shit. I don't care about the security. I want to fight. Let's fight at Revolution. And that's classic Eddie. So like you said, it was a clash in styles, but both styles worked for this segment. And once again, Eddie Kingston in 1 week has me ready to see a match that he's involved in.
Oh yeah, they sold the match. I guess I'm not even don't. Eddie sold the match. It seemed so off to me. Jericho's promo on Eddie, and I get that it's effective, and that's why he went back to it. It just seemed kind of, I don't know, cookie cutter heel to me. Jericho's had better, and I think Jericho almost seemed a little thrown off by Eddie's no selling the promo. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's what they planned to do, was the way that I saw it. But no, I thought Eddie was tremendous.
I don't think that you're wrong in the sense that Jericho was thrown off. I think early on in the segment when he said sports entertainment is down the block, you can kind of see the look on Jericho's face where, it kind of threw him a little bit, and it kind of took him, a little bit to get back on track and get, back to telling the story itself. The fact that he said that he didn't know who Eddie Kingston's first match against was, I think that's effective. That just plays in the fact that Jericho sees himself here and he sees Eddie Kingston down here. It's a superiority game. I mean, damn, don't get me wrong. Everybody loves Eddie Kingston, but everybody sings Chris Jericho's fucking song. So, I mean, to a certain degree, he has a point in kayfabe style. Now, that said, you take that and you put the sports, like I said, you put that sports entertainment collar on him for this feud. You want the fans to get behind Eddie and want to see Chris Jericho lose. And ultimately, that's all you want. You want the fans to be invested. And now you've gotten them invested in a heel Jericho going against Eddie Kingston.
Wasn't Eddie's first match against Cody? Wasn't that why he said that? Didn't they bring Eddie Kingston in for the open challenge? TNT title open challenge. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think that's why I said who. That's how I took it anyway.
No, yeah, I think I'm 90% sure you're right. Because there was a big deal because Eddie Kingston was coming off the Indies. That sounds right. But I'll just say this: if that's the case, and I'm pretty sure it is, I guess I'm getting ready to answer my own question. Is Cody? You could say Cody's name, but it's now, it's the double ooh, you're not saying Cody's name. You don't remember who his matches against. Okay, fair enough. Okay, like I said, more so to my point. I think Jericho played his role the best way he could. He was supposed to be the heel, and he did everything he was supposed to do. Eddie Kingston did, exactly what I expected Eddie to do. You know what? Yeah, fuck you. We gonna fight. When do you want to fight? Like you said, the clash of styles were perfect.
Eddie Kingston rules. He just rules so hard. He's such a good promo, man.
Yes,
I can't believe how good of a promo he is. In a company full of great promos,
he's one of the top 5.
I'm not going to say he's the best. So, top 5 for sure. When I found out, because I didn't watch it live last night, when I found out that they went toe to toe, so to speak, on the mic, I knew that it was must watch, and it was the part that I was looking forward to the most today when I finally got around and watched it.
No, it was good. No question about it.
So I'm into that match. I think I say too much on the podcast. Have I said that before on the podcast?
What, or the fact that you say too much?
Have I pointed out that I say too much?
Maybe once or twice.
Man, I shouldn't point it out because then people are going to hear it and it's going to ruin me for people. I'm already fighting uphill against 2 huge baby faces on the podcast with me. If I start,
about to say the biggest baby face is gone.
Baby. That's not true.
Shit.
There was another segment. Bring it back. Randall Diansen. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia. They had a decent 9-minute match. 2.0 comes in. 2.0 chalk them up to another 2 guys that are in a tag team that I can't tell apart.
Okay.
But I know that the one guy.
Okay, I'm with you on this one. I don't watch enough AEW Dark or Dark Elevation to be able to tell these two guys apart. I couldn't tell them apart when they were in NXT. So yes, I'm on the train. I cannot tell the 2.0 guys apart. Hell, I don't even know their names.
One of them was Matt Lee, I know, and I think he's the one that I hate. He's the one that looks like he could be Eddie Kingston's like clean-shaven little brother. And whenever he cuts a promo, it's not like he's actually cutting a promo. It's like he's doing an impression of somebody cutting a promo at a frat party in college or something.
So yeah, he's the clean-shaven, heavy-set kind of guy.
Yeah, round face.
Yes.
I hate him.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. No, I watched Rampage to get ready for the pod today, and they cut the promo before that. But no, take that back. That was Jay White and Trent. Sorry, I'm getting my shows mixed up. Go ahead.
So Bryan Danielson beats Daniel Garcia. 2.0 comes in. Moxley comes in to make save. Crowd gets pretty hot for it. Bryan Danielson says, if you want to bleed with me, I'll give you the match. We're going to get Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson at Revolution, shaping up to be a pretty good pay-per-view. What do you
can
think?
Go ahead and say it. It's getting ready to be a banger pay-per-view, man. Shit, give me a break. This motherfucker is starting to get loaded. The match was fine. I wish it had went like maybe 5 or 10 minutes more. That's just me. I called it technical violence. They had a technical style match, but the next thing you know, out of a technical move, you're getting, a forearm in the mouth, a knee to the fucking face, pretty brutal, stiff shots. I'm almost looking past the match of Moxley versus Daniel Bryan. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's going to be one of the better matches of the Revolution card, but I want to know what happens after. Because now we got me to the point of Moxley could almost be convinced. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it could almost be convinced if Danielson pushes the right buttons. New Japan is running scared for you. You never got your rematch for the AEW championship. Things along those lines to where, the world is kind of against you. We were talking about Moxley having a heel turn before he went into rehab. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would be real interested to see a Moxley Bryan Danielson pairing moving forward. And I think that was kind of the reason why you dropped in Lee Moriarty beforehand and Daniel Garcia now. Obviously, he brought them up. Guys that could possibly be in the fold of this faction, young enough to where they can get the rub from Moxley and Danielson, be heels for a little bit, and then flip over to be baby faces down the line.
No, yeah. My prediction is they have a violent, bloody encounter with Daniel Bryan taking a whole bunch of punishment. Moxley wins the match. Afterwards, Moxley has begrudging respect for Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. They shake hands in the middle, and then they start a evolution-like stable with Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia as the two young guys, as the Batista Orton, and Moxley and Bryan as the Flair Hunter. And then you have them as a heel stable, making their way through AEW, right? I mean, that would be tight, right? The right two guys to go with them too.
Yes, sir. I love that idea. I mean, as much as I love it, obviously I love factions, and that's all documented on this pod. This might actually be a faction that could be something close to what Bullet Club should be, what I would like them to be, more of a cohesive unit versus these 2 or 3 storylines going on, and no real one big overlapping storyline. I would love to see it. Like I said, to me, that would be perfect. Evolution is a great reference, great example of what that could possibly be, where you would have the two lead dogs and then the two young pups growing up and learning behind them. I would love that idea. If it happens, I would be absolutely amazed and stunned. Like I said, I just don't see it happening. I think Mox and Danielson are going to have, a kind of a feud of the year for 2022 in AEW.
All right, well, mark it down. If it happens, I get to 240.
Hey, 245, man. You heard it here first.
The Battle Royal was a 10. Jesus. Was it a 10 tag team Battle Royal? Is that right?
I don't. Yeah, it sounds right. Honestly, I didn't even. It just happened so quick, and that was my biggest problem. I'm like, okay, the show's starting, now I'm just starting to settle in. I got my cigarette going, and I see, the ring is surrounded by a bunch of guys, and I'm like, okay, so there's FTR, blah, 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 and they just all get in the ring. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is my whole problem with it.
There was lots of punching and kicking. When it got down to the final four, which was John Silver, the guy from FTR, Dax Wilder, or Dax Hardwood, or I know.
Jesus
I think I do.
I said I think I do.
There's a bunch of people that I don't know, and Kyle O'Reilly and one of the Bucks. Then it got
Matt
pretty
Jackson.
Good. So the
Jesus.
Bucks. So Kyle O'Reilly, Red Dragon goes over. They are in the triple threat tag match at Revolution pay-per-view, which is happening in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah,
it's not this weekend, right?
No, it's the first. Second weekend of March. March 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Because they have another battle royal, a casino battle royal next week to determine the other tag team that's going to be in that triple threat match. I have to think it's going to be the Bucks. That would make the most sense in terms of story. It also makes the most sense if they want to have a crazy good match. I would love to see Red Dragon maybe cost the Bucks the opportunity.
You stole my thunder.
Give LAX some shine. Let's put LAX in there because there's going to be a lot of talent in that ring. And LAX, they need something. We've been saying it for a long time. What are your thoughts?
I just don't like the tag team battle royal aspect of it. That's just me. I think if you were you're doing a tournament style, for the ladder match or whatever, you could do the same thing, to define the number one contenders for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. In that scenario, you would have some banger ass matches. So I think in that scenario, there was an opportunity lost. The match itself, I thought was okay up until the end, and that's when it really started to get good because now you had, storyline involvement with Red Dragon and Kyle O'Reilly. Say he blacked out. That's so fucking comedy. I thought that was one of the funniest things he said back segment when the Bucks confronted him. He was like, dude, what do you mean? I blacked out. I was like, good shit, Kyle O'Reilly. It was good. WWE might have missed another mark with Kyle O'Reilly, but, neither here nor there. Anyway, I'd rather them just do the tournament versus this. Now you're going to have another battle royal, casino battle royal. I don't even know what the difference is between the two, nor do I care. At this point, I would want the Bucks to win because now at least it makes a lot more sense. Bucks want the title. Bucks want revenge. Red Dragon's there. Adam Cole's in the middle. There's a lot of, overlapping storylines that you can work off of. But I would love to see Santana Ortiz win it. I just don't. That's going to really piss me off if Santana Ortiz don't win. I just don't see them winning because as the storyline is going, it doesn't make sense for them to win.
I totally agree. They could drag this out a little bit longer, especially because, this segment ended with Adam Cole, Bebe, and Adam Page. Adam Page cut the promo on Adam Cole. We're building up to that. It wasn't anything.
Story time with Adam Page, baby. I love that.
The last thing What'd you say?
No, I love the fact that Adam Page stole Adam Cole's catchphrase, and before his promo, he was just like, it's time for a storyline with Adam Page, baby. That's the little stuff that I like, the little jabs here and there across the bow. And especially if they're effective, that's what gets me invested into any sort of feud. It did it with Jericho and Eddie. We doing it with Mox and Bryan Danielson, and we especially did it here with Page versus Adam Cole.
The other thing, we had Jade versus Buddy, and Tay Conti comes out. We had Starks versus 10, which is fine. We had Keith Lee and Starks had a backstage thing. They're going to be in the Revolution ladder match, which has
a big man feel to it.
Potential to be really fun. But the other thing
I said the ladder match has a big man feel to it. Out of the four guys, I mean, Ricky Starks is like the smallest of the bunch. You got Starks, Hobbs, Wardlow, and Keith Lee. I mean, for a ladder match, you usually have like the smaller high flyer guys. So you'd have, the crazy ass spots, guys jumping from turnbuckle to the ladders, shit like that. I don't know if you're going to have spots like this. This is going to be ladders getting thrown on the ladders with somebody else, shit like that. It's going to be interesting to see how this works, because at least 3 out of the 4 guys are at least 300 pounds or more.
Yeah, there are a lot of big guys in there. And, Knights of the Black Throne fought Death Triangle. I had a tweet last night that I was for sure was going to go viral.
I saw that shit was fucking comedy.
Alex Abrahante is out here looking like the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and fucking Kenta looking like the creature from The Shape of Water. Got like 5 likes on it. That's more an indictment of Twitter than it is of my jokes, because the joke was good. The joke was solid.
The Grim Reaper was right on. I mean, chef kiss. I looked at it when I watched it on when I got home. I saw your tweet first. I was like, I'm laughing at work. So I went home. I got home and watched it. I'm like, God damn, he's right. This shit is so on point. Good call there.
Thank you. Anyway, though, it didn't go viral, but Buddy Matthews, formerly known as Buddy Murphy, that was in 205 Live, and he was in the main roster for a short while, making out with Mysterio's daughter for some reason, who was 19. Anyway.
That's his claim to fame. That's a goddamn shame.
Did we talk about how weird that was at the time? I mean, how fucking weird was that? That was stupid. Who was he running around with? He was running around with Seth Rollins?
Yeah. I'm sure we talked about how, at least the vibe about how people were perceiving it was. And then if we wanted to talk about it individually, we could. It is what it is, man. I mean, hell, I'll be damn near 50 here in a few months or a few years. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ. I'm not trying to go back and date 16 or 21-year-old shit. I remember that when I was 20s, man. Fuck that. That sounds horrible. Absolutely horrible. I'd rather get drug over broken glass by the Klan than deal with that.
So, guess what match I'm watching right now on Fight TV? 2006 Ring of Honor, Best in the World, Kenta versus Daniel Bryan.
Ooh, damn. Okay. High Five Time should love that. I was about to say, if you haven't checked out High Five Time's podcast, you need to check it out. Marking Out, I believe, is the name of the podcast. I will put the link up here after the pod, so that way you can check it out. But yeah, he does all ROH shit. He goes back and reviews that shit. So yeah, that just hearing that match makes me salivate a little bit. I would love to see early Kenta before he was this version of Kenta, at least what I think he is. But Yeah, that sounds like the shit right there. Damn, on Fight TV, would you dig that up? You must have been just over here just rattling, looking past like, no. Jason's still talking. Nope. Okay, there it is.
No, I just went to Fight TV and then I went to On Demand because I wanted something for free, and there it was. It was free. It's like an hour-long match. They're like halfway through it right now.
Jesus Christ!
But yeah, no, it's badass. So Buddy Matthews shows up. Malachi Black and Brody King look worried. They don't know what he's going to do, and he turns on Death Triangle, and it looks like he is aligning with the Knights of the Black Throne. Thoughts on that?
It looks like, I think, is the better choice of words, because it wasn't like Brody King, where if Malachi Black said something, Brody King did it. Buddy Matthews seemed like before he put Penta on the chair, you know, there was a little trepidation. You know what I'm saying? He hesitated a little bit. You know, I'm not sure what exactly that means. It probably means absolutely nothing. But it was something that I noted, and I was like, okay, you know, maybe there's some good, you know, inner conflict with them, you know, see Star Wars type shit. But no, Buddy Matthews ultimately in the world of AEW, I think, is a nice supporting piece. If there was a third singles title running around, Buddy Matthews would probably be in that mix. The TNT title pictures is starting to get a little crowded, so maybe Malachi Black is the lead guy, or not even maybe he's the lead guy, but he is the lead guy. He's the singles guy. He runs for the singles gold, and you put Brody King and Buddy Matthews together as the tag team, which doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. It was well known that Buddy Matthews was coming over. It was a matter of when and where. Last week's vignette was probably the tease for it. And then when he came out this week, I was just kind of like, okay, go ahead. I'm waiting for you to kick somebody. All right, there you go. Now, good start for Buddy Matthews. I think it's a good addition for the AEW roster, but I'm not looking for him to be in like any main event type shit. I look for him to be like a supporting piece.
Very exciting to have Buddy Matthews there. The guy can fucking work. The guy's got a great finisher, one of the best finishers going. I can't remember what it was called in WWE, but it was really badass.
Oh,
You're going to have to take my word for it because I'm not good at describing things like this. You know, he like took the head and he flips him around. He puts him down with like a slam. That's why I could never be a commentator on a wrestling show. I don't know.
It was like almost like a fisherman's suplex, but then he twisted it or whatever, like a spinning neck breaker. God damn, what do you call that shit?
Yeah, a regular Gorilla Monsoon over here, man. So with like you just said, it's starting to get a little crowded in the title pictures here in AEW. They have a large roster and a large roster with a lot of dudes on it. Do you agree that it's time that they put up a trios title?
Oh yeah, I've been calling for that for a hot minute. It's too many factions. It's too many, especially now with Buddy Matthews coming in. You get Phoenix back. That's a built-in rivalry for a trios title. Wherever Adam Cole goes, that's a trio. Best Friends is a trio. I mean, it's plenty of opportunities out there. If Christian wanted to come back, he and Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, that's a trio. It's no reason not to do it, except for the reason that they don't have a legitimate set plan how we get from point A to point B. There's plenty of talent there. It's just a matter of, committing to do it and then doing it the right way.
Well, Hardy was on there talking about having a trios match against Sting and Darby and what's his face at Revolution, which is fine. Hopefully that means that they're going to create the trios belt, whatever they would call it, the 6-man belt.
My guess, and this is just a guess, I think that's going to lead more into Matt leaving the HOFO, whatever you want to call it, that little faction, and going with Jeff. Obviously, Jeff is a free agent. It's a poorly hidden secret that he's on the way to AEW, and the fact that Matt and Jeff have independent shows, tag team shows against 2 or 3 different tag teams out there. I think this is just another way to say that Matt is erratic. Mark Sterling said that on Rampage on Friday night. This is more of, Matt Hardy's erratic behavior. That's Matt Hardy getting ready to go into maybe a broken Matt Hardy mode or something along those lines. Bring Jeff in. Now they're a tag team. I'm assuming they'll win the tag team titles at some point. AEW, at least in that scenario, and then you kind of go from there. But I don't even think that's more about a trios title. I think that's more about Matt Hardy and setting him up to bring in Jeff.
Before we get off of AEW, did you see Kenny Omega's comments on the Dave Meltzer podcast about Cody Rhodes?
I did not.
Basically saying, for Cody, it was always about going up against WWE and being challengers against WWE. And when it was him and the Bucks, and Kenny Omega and the Bucks did not have those same ideas. Kenny and the Bucks, they were just like, hey, let's put on a good show. And Cody was always laser focused on it. And that Cody was always in his Codyverse over here, and everybody else was doing the other thing. So it really didn't surprise Kenny Omega that he went back. I kind of took those comments as like, no duh. Like maybe Cody would have more skin in the game when wanting to go up against WWE, because it's not like Cody came up in the indies. Cody came up through the WWE system. Cody went to WWE shows when he was a kid. Cody watched all of WWE and has much more of a history than Omega and the Bucks do. So I know that there were people making waves about it. It didn't seem that big of a deal.
No, I mean, you just be hearing this for the very first time. I think that's just a natural reaction. You want to beat the team. It's like sports. Okay, Team A releases OBJ. The Browns release OBJ. If he went to the Rams and the Browns met in the Super Bowl, you do not think OBJ would be so hyped to win that game? You would have to keep him in chains before the game started and then release him once the game, the whistle blew. It's the same concept. Cody wants to beat WWE. I get it. That's some Petty Crocker, Tom Petty bullshit, and I totally get it. I'm down for it. However, I think if that is the case, I think he's missing a bigger picture. AEW is WWE's biggest opponent in America right now, as we speak. Now, if you want to be focused on beating them every week in the ratings and shit like that, that's another discussion for another time. I think if you put on, I lean towards the Kenny Bucks side on this. If you put on quality shows, if you put on quality pay-per-views, things along those lines, word of mouth is a powerful thing. And I think that would have been a way to get them, more head-to-head. They're not going to compete head-to-head against WWE financially. It's virtually impossible. WWE made $1 billion last year. And it was one of the worst fucking years that I can think of in wrestling, just on-screen product for WWE. We complained about a lot of it. We gave beef awards out on that shit. AEW is not going to compete with them on the financial level. They need to be more worried about bringing in good product, quality product, week after week after week, build it up from that point versus trying to build, go against someone on financial level.
So the exact quote was, talked about the EVPs. Everybody knows when their deals are up. We would hear that there was, when this thing first started, the most passionate person of our revolution, the most passionate person of creating the us versus them mentality was Cody. It was strange for him to just choose to up and walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some long stuff here. But, go out and search that for yourself. Let's keep it moving. Right now, they're showing Daniel Bryan versus Nigel McGuinness in 2006 in a unification, or it's called ROH Unified in Liverpool.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, let's get to that recount. All right, JCB.
3 count. We're going to jump over to Japan. Talk a little New Japan. There was a couple newsworthy events, and then they broke out the New Japan Cup. Getting ready to start the front part of August, the front part of March. I believe it's the 1st or the 2nd. I believe it's March 1st, but neither here nor there. Let's jump back. Let's talk about a couple of title matches. The 2 big ones that we're going to talk about is first the Sanada versus Tanahashi match for the U.S. title. I said it coming in. I didn't think that Sanada had much of a chance. He had been, I guess, in New Japan for 6 years, never won a singles title. So somebody bring me a big-ass spoon so I can eat my words. Sanada wins the U.S. title over Tanahashi in a barn burner match, probably one of the better Sanada matches that I've seen in quite some time. Finally getting the monkey off his back, I think, was the biggest story going in and then coming out of this match. I'm not necessarily disappointed that Tanahashi didn't hold on to the title. I know everybody has Moxley Tanahashi on the tip of their tongue or something that is a possible dream match. I'm not sitting there going to say that Sanada versus Moxley couldn't be another really good match. It might not be connecting the dots the way you do with Tanahashi versus Moxley, but neither here nor there. Thoughts on the U.S. title match?
I love the ending segment of it. The first 2/3 of it, they bored the fuck out of me, like a lot of Sanada matches do. I have been hard on Sanada. I don't know why you're laughing.
Right. No, because this sounds like a broken record. It sounds like me in the Hurt Business. But go ahead.
I mean, I've been rough on Sanada, and it's a sliding scale because I'm rough on him compared to New Japan wrestlers, not necessarily rough on him compared to all wrestlers. But I thought the ending segment was great, and I liked the announcing really sold story down the way, and Sanada winning didn't surprise me. How long was this match?
I didn't catch the time on it, to be perfectly honest.
I think they said it was 29 minutes and 36 seconds.
I was getting ready to say 30 minutes sounds right, but
it was great. It was fun to watch a New Japan match that meant something again because I haven't watched it since Wrestle Kingdom. But it was great. It was fantastic. Same thing with Okada Naito. I'll let you wax about that.
No, I can't wax about it too much because my boy didn't win, but obviously that was the second night of the New Japan Golden Series. Naito versus Okada for the IWGP title. Obviously, Okada goes over. I didn't have any illusions going into this to thinking that Naito was going to win this match. Leading up to the title match, all the preview matches, whether it was tag team, 6-man, whatever the case may be, Naito LIJ had beaten the Okada side every single time. I think it was like 13-0 leading up to the title match. So I mean, at that point, you're basically telling me who's going to win, and now you just have to tell me a good story in ring, which I thought they did for the most part. It wasn't a typical Okada Naito match. When I say typical, I think more of I'm worried about somebody getting ready to get seriously hurt, I don't think that was the case, but they did a nice little strong style match. Naito with the Phoenix Splash off the top. If I didn't see the preview matches coming up to this point, I might have fell for the fact that would have been the finish, but obviously Okada kicks out. It was another good chapter and a great feud. Okada takes the season series, for lack of a better term, 6-5. Okada wasn't going to lose this, especially being the first title defense. But like I said, to me, it wasn't the best of their 11 matches, but it can stand up to any of the other 11. Okada deserved to go over, so you have to give him this credit.
Yeah. It's always fun watching Okada versus Naito. It's always going to rule. The outcome was never really so much in question for me. Okada just won the belt, so not sure why they had to rush Naito back into it. I probably would have waited on that. I mean, really, I think at this point we could put a couple of years in between the next huge title match between Okada and Naito. I don't know what their long-term plans are.
Shit,
but
what's Naito's long-term plans? I mean, Okada will be here in 2 years.
Yeah, he will. Will Naito?
There you go.
I'm asking you, as America's number one Naito?
I'm sure that's not the case.
Are you sure that's not the case?
I'm sure that's not the case. I was going to say, as hard as I go for Naito, I'm sure that there's people that have watched way more of his matches. I'm going to say no, man. I'm not sure what the length of this last contract he re-signed with for New Japan, but my heart of hearts says this is probably the last contract that he does sign with New Japan. Storyline is, he wants to headline Wrestle Kingdom for next year. So that will be like his chase all year long, New Japan Cup, G1, so on and so forth. I think he just kind of falls short. I mean, there's other guys that are probably going to, get these chances. I'm not sure that Okada runs the gambit from, Wrestle Kingdom to Wrestle Kingdom, because ultimately that's, what we're kind of talking about. If, Okada and Naito run it back, it's probably going to be Wrestle Kingdom, this time next year. So I'm going to say no. As much as I'd love to see a legitimate Naito run, Zach always kind of, says it, and I kind of, piggyback on it. There's some mileage on the knees. It's, even though Okada and Naito are about the same age, they aren't in the same shape by any stretch. Okada still looks like he can go 60 minutes at any given point, and Naito doesn't. So I'm going to say no.
All right. So they put up New Japan Cup brackets not too long ago. When does the New Japan Cup start?
I think it's the 1st or 2nd of March. It's one or the other. Either way, like I said, it's one of the two dates. I'll have to double check. Actually, I got the article right here. Hold up. Give me 30 seconds. New Japan Pro Wrestling has revealed the full 48-man field for the 2022 New Japan Cup in a press conference Monday. New Japan released the 2022 New Japan Cup. The 2022 tournament will be the largest in history. 16 participants receiving first-round buys. Those people are blah, 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 blah. It starts March 2nd.
So, I'm looking at the bracket right now. Do you have a Final Four that you want to throw out there?
I'll go with Bushi. I'm looking at top right. I'll go with Bushi at top right. Nope. Ooh. Same bracket. Will Ospreay and Bushi is probably going to be like a bracket semifinal, final match. Ugh, gross. That bottom half is nasty. Shingo, I see Shingo, so I'll go Shingo Ibushi on one side, the right side. I hate the fact that Okada is even in the New Japan Cup. I get you want to make it the biggest tournament, but I think he should be sitting in the wings waiting for whomever is going to win. I'll take Okada by default. Whoever he loses, if he loses, that would be a title match.
Man, Okada Despy in the first round.
Well, that was that's something that they always do. The junior heavyweight champion wrestles the heavyweight champion. When Naito was the champ and Hiromu was the champ, that was in the 2020 year, the pandemic year. That was going to be a match, and then they had to cancel it because of the pandemic, and now they're kind of getting back to that, and that's going to be a first round match. Like I said, I wish that was separate from everything else. Let me give you a fourth name really quick. I'll go Tanahashi. Tanahashi, Okada, Ibushi, and Shingo would be my final four if I had to say it right now.
All right, I will go with Great Okan.
Ooh.
I'll go with Evil.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. What are you doing?
Jeff Cobb.
Okay.
And then in that top left bracket, it's between Dick Togo and Yano. And I'll go... I will go... Dick Togo.
That's some fucked up shit.
Yeah,
I'm ready to root for somebody of House of Torture over Yano. That's some fucked up shit.
And no, I mean, I guess you got to go Okada. I mean,
I don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say unless you got to go Okada. But I mean, what happens if the champ wins the New Japan Cup?
I would assume he would be able to pick his opponent the same way. If the champ won the G1, he'd be able to pick his opponent.
Some fun first round matches, though, just to throw these out there. We already mentioned Okada versus Despy. We got Yuji Nagata versus Goto. That's probably happened a whole bunch. You got Tanahashi versus Yo.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking at that.
You got Naito versus Yujiro.
Watch Naito lose in the first round. I'll be pissed.
Ibushi versus Great Okada. I guess this is Ibushi's first thing back since the G1 debacle. I mean, not his fault.
Yeah, I'm surprised that. Well, actually, two things. I'm surprised Naito did the same move. Well, not even the same move, but did it and got away with it, number one. And number two, I'm surprised that Ibushi and the Great Okada is a first round match. I mean, that's a barn burner first round match. I don't care what anybody says, especially with Great Okada with these preview matches leading up to this point, just been dominant, killing guys under 10 minutes. He's on a roll, and Ibushi coming back. This could be the first round upset that nobody's going to call, especially me.
And also, well, the other thing about Naito doing that move is that he didn't get a whole lot of lift on it.
Oh, no. Not at all. He pulled that joker off, but I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, no. Please, God, I love you.
Oh, do you know what I said? What? Oh, I said Yujiro versus Naito. Hiromu's fighting Sho in the first round too, which is pretty cool. And then if whoever wins that is going to get Suzuki, which could be Hiromu versus Suzuki.
Yeah. Sho versus Suzuki would be fun in the sense of two heels, but Takahashi Hiromu versus Suzuki, that would be a match where, as a junior heavyweight, Hiromu ain't going nowhere, and Suzuki's going to try to kill everybody in his path. I think that's going to be a nice little match if that happens. I don't like the 16 buys. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're going to do the 16 buys, then have the 16 buys be of some substance. If you have a title, then yeah, you should get a buy. Okada should get a buy in the first round. He shouldn't have to wrestle in the first round, okay? Like Ibushi should be getting the first round buy. Things, the guys that they have getting first round buys are like I'll just go off the list. Suzuki, Tenzan, Fale, Tiger Mask, El Phantasmo, Doki, Ishimori, Master Wato, Kanemaru, Gato, Kojima, Jose Fujita, who's a fucking young lion. How the fuck is he get a bye in the first round? That makes no kind of sense. Dick Togo, both of the Gorillas of Destiny, Tamatanga and Tongagoa, and Sanada. Okay, out of that whole list, one guy, Sanada, I think deserves to get the first round bye. There is no reason in the world for a young lion to have a first round bye. Man, get your ass in there and take this work and be done with it.
Before we get off of New Japan, we should talk about the breaking news that we were going to talk about in the one count, but we moved past it. That's probably my fault as the host and quarterback of the show. I apologize to everybody. Cesaro has been released from WWE.
No, let's not say released. No, that is incorrect. Okay, if he was released, his contract expired. So that's the bigger issue. If he was released, he'd be on the 90-day no compete clause. Because his contract expired, he can pop up anywhere, any place, anytime. So the $64,000 question, Bill Vagey, where do you want to see Cesaro pop up? We already know that Two Beer Zach said he wants Cesaro in the G1. Okay, man, let's just calm down for a second. Let's see if we can get him in the country first before we get him in the G1. Where do you think Cesaro should go?
The G1. I want to see Cesaro. I want to see Cesaro go on a tear. I want to see him tour the world. I want to see him fight everybody that he hasn't been able to fight, and I want to see him rip off some matches that aren't him tagging with whoever he's been tagging with lately. Mansoor, and have some great matches. That's what I want to see. Is the G1 at its normal time this year? Is it in June or July or whatever?
Give me 2 seconds. I'll filibuster for a second. I'm going to look it up.
But Cesaro, of all the guys that have left WWE recently, Cesaro is the one, besides Bryan Danielson, who Bryan Danielson had championship runs and had singles matches, and WWE treated Bryan Danielson like the star that he was, at least. Cesaro is the guy that was always criminally underused. And if I recall correctly, he only had one singles WrestleMania match in his entire run with WWE, if I'm not mistaken, and that was last year against Seth Rollins, where he went over. Now, he had two real good tag runs. One that was massive with The Bar, him and Sheamus. Mm-hmm. They were together for a long time, and they had several championships, and they were good together. He was also in, and now I can't remember what they were called. Were they called the Real Americans? Him and Swagger?
I think so. Sounds right.
Dutch Mantel.
Sounds right.
But his name wasn't Dutch Mantel. His name wasn't Dutch Mantel in WWE either. Or Zeb Colster. That was his name.
Good call.
Cesaro had some good tag runs, but I want to see him have singles runs, and I want to see him. I mean, really, best case scenario is Tony Khan signs Alberto Del Rio and puts back together the League of Nations.
Don't do that, Tony. Please don't do that. I mean, I know you can sign pretty much anybody you want to, but nobody wants to see that shit. Let Miro do his thing. I can't find when the G1 is for this year. Maybe they haven't announced it, which is great. But usually the G1 is in the summer, June, July, August.
I don't care about the G1 anymore. I wanted to talk about the League of Nations. What's that? Who am I missing? Was that Del Rio, Cesaro, Rusev, and
Sheamus?
Sheamus? Was he in the? Man, they could have been huge.
Dude.
Talk about it.
Okay. As long as we're going to get away from G1 for 30 seconds, I totally agree with you. You know how they weren't huge? When you let Austin HBK and Mick Foley beat the crap out of them at WrestleMania. Now they're not so much huge, but if you'd have did it right, it might have been a heel faction that wins titles that everybody can get around and collectively hate. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't even do that.
Man, I do not remember that. They got beat up at WrestleMania by Mick Foley.
I don't remember what the original match was, but no, take that back. Was that with Wade Barrett? Because now I'm thinking that was Wade Barrett that was out there. Mick Foley, it had to be in Texas because Foley, HBK, and Austin came out. It was in a segment. It feels like it was after the match. I'm pretty sure it was the League of Nations, and they came out and stomped the shit out of them.
All right, yeah, I'm sure that happened. I have no recollection of it. It's possible I was drinking at the party.
I was getting ready to say it's WrestleMania, so you fill in the holes. How you do your WrestleMania parties probably ain't the way we do our WrestleMania parties. If you are a regular listener of BFR, you know there was some adult beverages being passed around at the minimum. Okay, I'm surprised I don't even remember that shit.
All right, that's going to do it for our 3 counts. The only thing I really want to talk to, we don't go through NXT the way we used to, but NXT is basically just it's main roster adjacent. There are some things that happened on it that were good. There was one really good thing that happened on it this week, which was Dolph Ziggler versus Tommaso Ciampa had a match, and the match was good. Of course, the match was good. Dolph Ziggler finally got to, let his hair down, so to speak, a little bit. Him versus Ciampa was tons of fun. He won with heel tactics. Bobby Roode was the cameraman, and Bobby Roode hit Tommaso Ciampa with the camera. Dolph Ziggler hits him with a super kick, and now Dolph Ziggler is the number 1 contender for the NXT heavyweight belt against Braun Breaker, right? That's what that match was for, right? So we're going to get...
Essentially, yeah. I was going to say, I don't think the winner would get Braun Breaker, but essentially that's where we were leading up to going into this match. Believe it or not, I did watch the match. I thought it was really good. Like you said, to me, it would be borderline impossible to have Ciampa and Ziggler in the same match and not have it be good. I have no problem with the fuckery because...
it could happen on Raw, though. You could do it on Raw.
You could do it. Okay, totally fair. You were right. On the main roster, you could have those two in the ring and have a bad match. See Cross versus Jeff Hardy. Now, that said, on the NXT side, even on the rebrand, this was a really good match. I liked it a lot. And ultimately, it sets up Braun Breaker's next opponent, who's probably going to be Dolph Ziggler the weekend of WrestleMania, it feels like. I think that's where they're going with it.
I hope so. That sounds like a ton of fun. Braun Breaker's fun, man. I like his promo style. I think he's fun.
No, he's
got a lot of upside.
He's legit. Him, Carmelo Hayes, Malcolm Bivens are the guys that I would want to watch NXT for weekly. I know there were a lot of people that tagged me with Nikita Lyons. I did watch that match just for reference. I will say this. Do not get me wrong. Nikita Lyons is easy on the eyes, but she's not Elektra Lopez. That's my future ex-baby mama first wife.
Why? I mean, why do they think that? Why do they tag you in it? Do they think that I don't like big, nice butts?
Well, you're married, so I mean, you got one big, nice butt to like. Where I that aren't married. Which is it?
Hey, just because you already ordered doesn't mean you can't keep the menu on the table. You know what I mean? Just have a look.
Say, no, I ain't ordering. Just give me the menu.
Sometimes I'm just taking a look at the menu.
Good thing you in your office talking all that bullshit. No, don't get me wrong. Both are hot, but if you made me choose play the kick out game, I got to kick out Nikita Lyons barely, but Elektra Lopez is just that's another level of nonsense.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. That's enough, guys. Is there anything else that we missed? It was kind of a slow week, but I mean that makes sense considering how big the weeks have been. We got some.
I was going to say
some big weeks coming up.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bobby Lashley thing is the one thing I wanted to talk about on the Raw side. Outside of that, we touched on Seth, KO, talked Elimination Chamber. I think we covered it. That there's nothing that No, go ahead.
Yeah, in the upcoming weeks we have the Revolution. There's a bit of a delay here, which is why we're kind of fucked up. It's not like how when we're kind of fucked up, usually in the same room. That has to do with
we'll just yell over each other.
Booze and narcotics. But this time it's because of the delay. In the upcoming weeks, we have the Revolution pay-per-view. Of course, we have the Road to WrestleMania. We have Cody news. We have New Japan Cup. We'll be watching every single New Japan Cup match, and we will be discussing the New Japan Cup on the podcast.
I know something we didn't talk about. I know something we didn't talk about.
What's that?
Okay, so there's the WWE. We're going to jump back a little bit. Brock Lesnar has a title defense in Madison Square Garden. It usually doesn't happen after it was Backlash at one point. Now it's Elimination Chamber. Whoever the champions are usually take those titles straight into WrestleMania, and you have this big 6-week build. In this scenario, Brock has a title match against Bobby Lashley. At least that's the announced opponent. If Bobby Lashley can, quote unquote, pass concussion protocol. Now, I expect Bobby Lashley not to be able to pass said concussion protocol. If he can't pass, who would you want to see Brock Lesnar wrestle in MSG in March before the WrestleMania title versus title match?
Riddle.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. A lot of people are speculating this is where you drop Cody in. I don't necessarily think that this is a good spot because I would expect Cody would have to lose or there would have to be some sort of serious fuckery going on to make Cody a heel. It sounds right, but I just don't think this is the spot.
No, I want to see something fresh. I want to see something that we haven't seen before. Brodus Clay.
Might as well bring him in, man. Shit, he ain't gonna win the title, but man, you better pay me my money at some point and give me a bunch of shots, whichever you want to do. I don't care which one it is, but yeah, you owe me something for Brodus Clay being the quote unquote world champion.
Is that event going to be live on Peacock?
They haven't said. I think it's a weekend. It's either a Friday or a Saturday. That's why my knee-jerk reaction is to probably say no, but it's Brock Lesnar.
Who would you want to see?
I like the Riddle idea. I like it a lot. It can at least that's who it was. It was Riddle that was the sixth person in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah,
it's somebody that you have some sort of ties to. They have MMA background behind it. I wouldn't mind Riddle, but like I said earlier, a lot of that, the biggest problem with a lot of that is, Brock basically destroyed anybody that had a chance to even jump in this spot to replace Bobby Lashley. If Bobby Lashley's hurt and legitimately hurt, the fact that they're even putting him out there, as the opponent is just kind of shitty. Just say it's a mystery opponent. If you're going to do it if you want to have this match with Brock Lesnar, have it as a mystery opponent. That way, you keep tension going all the way up to this. And then if it's Cody, you spring Cody out there. If it's Riddle, you spring Riddle out there. But I just don't think that.
I would love for Shelton Benjamin to get a crack at him just because I think that they'd want to wrestle each other. And maybe a thing at the MSG would be like the low stakes place to do it, the last thing before WrestleMania. Nobody expects the challenger to win. And that would be fun to have Shelton Benjamin. Now, would that make storyline sense? No, but WWE doesn't care about storyline sense.
No. Okay. That's Minnesota Gophers is what that makes sense about. And from that point, I wouldn't have a problem with that because, they have, some sort of familiar ties, connecting the dots, shit like that. Just make it make sense. That's all I ever asked. Bobby Lashley right now, from all reports, and it's multiple reports, he has a legit shoulder injury that's going to need surgery. So why are we even announcing Lashley for matches like this, acting like the concussion is the issue? The concussion is not even an issue. Hell, he probably doesn't even have a concussion. Okay, the reason why you didn't see him,
really weird.
The reason why you didn't see him wrestle matches after the Rumble is because he got hurt at the Rumble. Anytime we've seen Lashley up to this point, it has been a talking segment with MVP in some form or fashion. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Jason, hit me with this is banned from Ringside.
This is banned from Ringside.
So we got some birthdays this week. Corey Graves is 38. Shinsuke Nakamura is 42. Sean O'Hare is 51. Maria Kanellis is 40. Hope her and that baby are doing okay. Ric Flair is 73. Kenta is 37. Congratulations on the Oscar in The Shape of Water, Kenta. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is 69. Seriously, if you want to see how much he looked like it, go to @BFR Bill. I have no followers, so follow me. You probably already followed me anyway. Go to my Twitter and look at the comparison shots that I have of Alex Abrahantes, like the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and Penta El Miedo with, ooh, did you hear? I actually sounded pretty good.
Yeah,
Penta El Miedo.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty good.
Like the creature from The Shape of Water. Anyway.
Actually, the fucked up part about that is Penta just changed his name to something. I can't even remember what the fuck it is that they said last night. But, yeah, what you said right there, chef's kiss.
Yeah, man, I've been to Mexico several times. Norman Smiley is 57. Mike Tenay is 67. Booker T is 57 also. Scotty Riggs is 51. Big E Langston is 36. Lance Cade is 41. Wait, Lance Cade. He's alive, right?
Why does that name sound familiar?
Wasn't he Garrison Cade in WWE? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Edit this out, Jason. Edit this out.
Got it.
Deborah is 62. Kyle O'Reilly is 35. And Emma is 33. I saw Emma in person one time and damn near blacked out myself.
She's
Jesus
short.
Christ. Also, I want to, that's okay with me. I want to also point out that I always say this at the end, but there's a special announcement from Randall Wrestling tomorrow, STL versus the World. Trying to find a place where it's going to be shared, but I would recommend after 10 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow, go ahead and Google Randall Wrestling. That's GRANDEL Wrestling, STL versus the World. There is a big card coming up that's going to be taking place here in BFR hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, put together by Tinder Mahal. Jason and I have seen this card, and it's
I don't know if I've seen the final. I don't know if I've seen the final card because God bless Joey, but he's been kind of keeping me abreast of this person's in, this person's out. So I think I know the card. The card, I know what it is in my head. It's going to be an amazing fucking time. And if you get a chance to stream it, I'm sure that they're going to do a streaming in some form or fashion. If not, they'll figure that out at some point. But for me, the biggest thing is the fact that somebody that we know, somebody that we love, friend of the show, fam of the show, JOF, I like to call him because everybody the big promoters have their nicknames. TK is Tony Khan. VKM is, obviously Vincent Kennedy Man. So I like to call Joey JOF for Joey O'Farrell. But no, he's put a lot of heart, soul, sweat, time, effort into it, and the fact that it's getting ready to come into reality is a beautiful fucking thing, and I can't wait for this shit to happen. I'm going to be there with bells on. I might actually have a suit on and shit for this scenario, but
there are some big names on this card, and they are names that you have heard of, and there's a fun video online that you can find that's narrated by Cowboy Bob Orton, talking about the history of St. Louis wrestling and this event that's coming up. It's big. So it's Grandel Wrestling, Grandel Wrestling, STL versus the World. Go ahead and search it. Jason, hit me with the music. Hey everybody, we know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. For Murray to Murray Man Murray,
check
out their podcast.
Check.
Sideways in Time, or Vice, a.k.a. Bo Eastman, who provides me with the AKA every week. Zach Coleman, two-beer Zach Coleman, who will be back next week.
Check.
He'll be on fire, I'm sure. For Jason Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa, bitches.
I am Phil Vagey. Everybody,
check.
Black Lives Matter.
Check.
Give people the chance. Support your local weed dealers. And don't forget to boo the heels.
Boo, bitch.